Okay, perfect. So you had a chance to look at the questions already.
Yes.
Okay, great. So first, I want to just start off by saying that I researched you and your company before I even reached out to you on social media, and I just really appreciate the fact that you were just super approachable and nice, even though you didn't know me. And that's just really important to me when I'm networking with people. So that's how this came. I seen you on, I think it was like the Black Bay Area page, and I
Mm.
looked at a lot of the forums that you hosted and everything. So I felt like this would be really good connect to get some information. So myself, I work a lot with my real estate clients and credit education. That's like my passion work. I'm a project manager by day. And a lot of them, I explain to them that real estate and credit is kind of the cornerstone to wealth. And it gives you access and it gives you like a seat at the table of wealth. But another part of that recipe is your income and how you make a living. And I'm often stopped by people that are asking me to help them find jobs, help them with their resumes and all of that. I can only do so much, so I felt like it would be so befitting to kind of get some questions answered by someone who is a professional in this area. And so that's why I chose you. So I really
Thank you.
appreciate you doing this, even though you don't know me. But like I said before, I'm going to be sharing this with my sphere of influence and just putting it out on any kind of platform I can for our community to definitely benefit from this information.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So if you can just start off, and if you decide to take a left turn and it gets, good, just you don't have to go by the questions, but so I just wanted to let you know that. But if you can just like let us know who you are and what you do to start off.
You ready?
Yeah.
So I'm Marco Lindsey. I am the Associate Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at UC Berkeley's High School of Business. I just moved into that role formally for the previous 8 years. I was the Chief of Staff in the same department. I'm also a board member of the 100 Black Men of the Bay Area. I'm an Oakland native, born and raised. Went to schools in Oakland, attended Merritt College in Oakland, UC Berkeley, and I'm here, just a Black man in our community, trying to help us all get to that next level. I'm trying to be, in many instances, the things that I didn't necessarily have when I was coming up. And so,
Mhm.
I'm in 100 Black Men. It's 100 Black Men of America. We're the Bay Area chapter. One of the mottos that we have is what they see is what they'll be, right? And so, giving our youth the opportunity to see Black men making a difference in the community, seeing some modicum of success, however you want to define it. And that's a huge part of it. Just understanding that if we want the next generation to do more and have more, then we have to do more and be more. So that way they know what they can aspire to, and then also they know what they can surpass. And so,
Okay. That's awesome. So is that what kind of like inspired you to start your company, your consulting company?
yes, yes. Well, yes. So with what I do, it's MT Lindsay Consulting. What I found out, just as a Bay Area native, I saw two things were happening. One, I'm walking through the halls at UC Berkeley, and I hear a professor tell a student that 70% of jobs in tech don't involve coding. Now, I didn't even fact check this, but for me, a light bulb went off in my head because I realized that one, a lot of Black people, a lot of people of color don't know that. When people think tech, they think Google, they think Facebook, they think coding, not
Mhm.
realizing that there are a ton of jobs and other in those companies that you don't have to know how to code. And so realizing that, and then also realizing that a lot of these tech companies are getting in trouble for their low diversity numbers. um, I felt I was uniquely suited to bridge those two communities. I have a lot of contacts in tech through a lot of networking opportunities and through work that I've done, and through the 100 Black Men. And then being a native of this area, I know a lot of Black people. I know a lot of Black organizations, professional organizations, social organizations, and just Black people. My grandmother moved here with 13 kids, and they're all still here,
Oh
right?
wow.
Uh,
Mhm.
my roots run deep, and so being who I am, I just felt like, okay, this is something that God just sent me to do. And I don't know, just might not be religious, but I'm just, it's just since I'm uniquely suited, I have these two communities that I could bridge the gap, That's what made me do it.
Okay, that's wonderful. I love to hear that kind of stuff because when you tie your passion to something deeper, it really like results in a lot of fulfilling moments, and that's something that I have found to be true too. So first, I would just want to start off with the set of kind of scenario questions or statements, and if you can just respond to those the best that you can, and with your expertise. But a lot of people kind of stop me and say, well, I'm stuck in a job where I'm not able to make enough money to thrive. Like, what would you say to someone that says that?
Um, Someone in a job that they don't make enough money to thrive. You have to ask some questions there. One, I guess the first question is, how bad do you want to do something, right? Because unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that are in situations that aren't the best situations for them, but they're not willing to do enough to change it, right? And so, does it hurt bad enough? Is the question?
Mm-hmm.
And that, because honestly, there are a lot of people out there who need opportunities, but they don't want to do the work to get them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like to be honest with people, right? And if you don't want to, do this type of work, I get it. I'm not judging you, right? You might have a good life where you want to go, you want to hang out, and so that's fine. But I don't want to waste your time or you waste mine. So I said that. But if you do have that, you do get past that, I want to find out what job field are you in, right? And do you know where you want to go, right? Is where you are your passion?
Mm-hmm.
And not being paid enough for it? Or is this a dead-end job that you just took to get a paycheck? And so, it's a lot of questions because there's no cookie cutter answer for anyone. That's the one thing that I learned about this. With so many people with so many different vocations, so many people with so many different aptitudes, it can go any which way. And so, one avenue would be, can you retool? Are there skills that you can learn that can put you in a better space to get a higher or better paying job? While you're there, are you able to connect with the management? Are you able to get a sponsor? And what I mean by a sponsor is connect with someone in a management or leadership position so that way they can help guide you if you want to stay at that organization to a higher role, right? And that, in a traditional sense, that's called mentorship, right? Find a mentor, someone within an organization that says, hey, I'm here right now. What can I do to get here? What can I do to get to your level even? And most times, if you're sincere and you have energy and you have enthusiasm, people will be receptive to what you have to say. But the thing is, when they do give you that information, you have to follow up on it and you have to do something. And then another thing, get out there, and there are opportunities out there, but you have to go to them. And so the business that I run, I do 9 engineering careers at barrier tech companies, right? It's a free forum. It's free. What we'll do is we'll get 5 recruiters on stage, and we'll get about 20 recruiters out in the audience, right? And these are recruiters from top tech companies. We get App Dynamics, we get Facebook, we get Google, we get Lyft, we get Uber, we get, it's going to be a lot of recruiters there. What we'll do is we're going to put you in the room with them, right? I'm going to put a group of people on stage to tell you exactly what they're looking for from their career seekers, right? They're going to have people in the room from their organization to talk to you one-on-one about what you need to do in order to get in that organization. And so really, all you have to do is show up. All you have to do is come, and we will help facilitate that because it's my passion to make sure as many of us as possible have as many opportunities as possible.
Right.
So
with that being said, can I just stop right there? Because you said something
yes.
really important. You said establishing a sponsor or a mentor in your current workplace.
Yes.
What would you say is probably the most important thing or the first thing someone should do in establishing one of those kind of people? Like how
research them. Research them. Research. So what I'll let you know is most of the things that get you ahead in your career involve research. And that might just be as simple as checking out their social media, right? See what they're interested in. If they have a LinkedIn, go to their LinkedIn page and see what articles they're reposting. See what things that they find of value. Google them. They might have given a talk somewhere. Go listen to that talk. And you have access to it. We all have a phone that you can do all these things with, because what you don't want to do is walk up to somebody and say, hey, mentor me. What you want to do is say, hey, my name is Marco Lindsey, and these are the reasons why I'm talking to you. You resonate with me. I read that you said this, and that's something that I believe as well. I heard your talk on this, and that inspired me to want to do more. You have to give these people some reason to feel a connection to you, because they might get these random requests all the time. But if you can come to them with a little bit more, if you've done a little bit more research than everyone else, to say, hey, there's a reason I'm coming to you. I'm not just coming to you because you got the bag. I'm coming to you because of the person that you are, the values that you have align with me. And then they are at least a good 80% more likely to be receptive to you and be willing to do more if you do that type of research.
Okay. So what would you say to someone that is, kind of limited in their education? So say someone that has a high school diploma. Now I have seen, a wide variety of people that do just stop at the high school diploma, but are thriving in their career. And that could be because of the opportunities of the right person. But there's other people that do have degrees that have put them in these thriving situations. What would you say to someone that is looking to change their careers, move up, but maybe only have a high school diploma?
So more and more these days, and I'm saying this with, this isn't gas. I mean, I've worked at UC Berkeley for the last 13 years. I'm an educator, but more and more in companies and corporations are saying it's less about what you did at school and more about what you can do for me now and more about your experience, right? And so I'll say this, LaFon Davis, she spoke on one of our panels. She was the top DEI person at Twilio, now the top DEI person at Indeed. Glenn McDowell, he is the top recruiter. He was at App Dynamics, and now he's a top recruiter at Invite.
Mm-hmm.
These people, and these are just examples, only have a high school diploma. And they are at the C level. They are at the C, the CEOs, they talk to the CEOs with high school diplomas. LaFon Davis is a black woman from Oakland, right? And so my point is, many of us, if you're 40 and you got a, 30, whatever age you might be, right? You're probably not you don't want to go back to undergrad, right? You've already in your career, you might have kids, you might not have the time. Now, if you do, go do it, right? And that's where your passion is, go do it. But if you don't, you can still be successful. But what you have to do is you have to know your game, right? When you walk into a room, when you walk into a meeting and there's a conversation, you should be able to be the subject matter expert. You should be the person where every time someone talks to you, they gain a new insight. Every time someone speaks to you, it's a wow. And you don't have to be a genius to do that, because everything, again, the information is out there, it's available. If you know that you're going into this area to talk about the subject, just take a couple minutes, take half an hour, either before the meeting or the night before, to do some research on it. Look it up. So that way you always seem informed, because people want that. People want the diversity that we bring as Black people or people of color, if you will. But it's not just that. They want us to come to the table with our different type of thoughts, because we think differently than the overrepresented majority. But then also, we have to mix our different type of thinking with information, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, a lot of times it doesn't matter if you don't, have a PhD, a college degree, a bachelor's degree, any of that. Can you get the job done? And then have you been getting the job done at the jobs that you work for? Because many times your reputation is going to precede you, right? And so if you want to move up, make sure that right now you are behaving. You are treating the job that you have right now as if it's the job that you want in the future. Because when you call to do that reference check and find out, how is Marco, in his current job? You want them to say, you know what, Marco's a great employee. I've seen his progress. He's been extremely valuable to help our team, so on and so forth, because those are the people employers are looking for.
Okay. So let's say, we get the job, and let's just say a person that does have a degree, because I get this question a lot. I have a degree and I'm still getting paid less than my counterparts. What should I do?
So for one, you want to research the salary range, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times people come into the room, the conversation, and we have a tendency to say, hey, it's about money, and it is, don't get me wrong. But it's not about what the company gives to me financially. What am I putting into the company financially, right? And so when you're having these conversations, the conversation should be less on, you know, I've been working here X amount of years, so I deserve this type of money. Don't ever say that. That is a, right? Because basically they're going to say to you, we've been paying you. So you came here and we paid you. You got a paycheck. You did that. But what you want to do is talk about how you add value to the organization. And so you're in an organization, you're in this middle range. Research the range, right? So if you know someone that works with you and they make more than you, that's just one data point. You need more data points. And if you have LinkedIn, you go on LinkedIn and find this information out. You know, let's say you're an analyst. Let's say you're whatever. LinkedIn will give you, you know, this is the bottom of this range. This is the top of this range. It'll give you an idea of, you know, this person here, you know, might need a PhD. This person here might need this person might need 12 years of experience, whereas this person is more entry level. And then you're able to map where you fall in that, right? And see, you know, what you bring to the table every day when you're having conversations with all the tasks that you have. You know, review your job description. Something that I notice a lot of times when we're working, scope creep happens. And so what that looks like is, this is your job description, but stuff gets added to your plate. You get added to your plate, somebody quit, you take on a little bit more, but your job description never changed. But what you need to do is be able to codify that, get all that stuff written down, so that way you can come to them and say, hey, this is my job description, this is how much I make, this is what I actually do. This is the value I bring to this organization. This is the benefit that this organization gets from my labor. And this is why I should be higher in this range than I currently am now.
So just to kind of summarize what you said and to make sure I heard you correctly is making sure that you know the job, you know what's in the job description, and also kind of keeping a running tally or kind of like a log of everything that has been added on top of your normal job description. And that's kind of where your added value conversation is going to come from.
Right.
Okay. And that should be discussed when? And when should you make those kind of negotiations or requests?
Well, it varies. So if you find out and it's egregious, like let's just say you have a colleague that you work with and you know y'all do the exact same thing and they make $20,000 more than you, you should call a meeting with your manager then. Right? But whatever you do, make sure you do the research first. But it could happen at your performance review time. This could happen, you know, at your mid-career review. It just depends on the organization. But if you know for a fact that you're extremely low in your range, that's a conversation you can have with your manager now. And then, in addition, if the conversation doesn't go how you want it to go, right? Let's say you have this conversation and you say, you know, here are all the things I'm doing. I think I should be up here. And they say, you know, well, we're not doing that right now. The next step, instead of getting upset, is to say, okay, what do I need to do to get to that next level? Put the onus on them. So that way, the next time y'all have a conversation, they have given you a roadmap to get to that next level. And then if you do all that, they have no logical reason not to give you what you already asked for.
I love that. I'm a strong believer that if you ever want to know the answers to the test, ask the teacher because they wrote the test.
There you go.
Okay. So I want to move on to answering some more of these questions. And then maybe if we have a little bit of time left, just kind of have some conversation or just hear from you, whatever you have. But the first question is, what is the best way to position myself in order to receive an offer or get hired? So this is probably coming from someone who is looking to maybe establish their career or maybe even transitioning into career to maybe a different company or within the company. So what's the best way to position themselves in order to receive an offer?
The best way to position yourself to receive an offer is one, to show up as your best self. Again, know the organization. You know, unfortunately, many organizations hire for organizational culture fit, right? As much as they say that they want diversity, they want people that fit within the values of the organization. Because what happens is a lot of these bigger companies, like I met with a recruiter from Google. She told me that they had an admin position. They got 2,000 resumes for. 2,000 resumes for somebody to be a secretary. Now, what's going to set you apart, right? Here are a couple things. One, make sure that when you have a conversation with the recruiter, when you have a conversation with a hiring manager, you speak in their language. What I mean by that is that if they have organizational values that they uphold, you want to talk about the work that you did in the past, but you want to make sure that you speak to it using the language that they use in regards to their organizational values, right? Does that make sense? Meaning, yeah. So, and that's extremely important. Another thing that's really important, and we might get to this later, is, and a lot of stuff, ultimately you have to network, because if you want to get an offer, it's about who you know, right? And being able to have someone at that organization or someone who knows that hiring manager that can put in a good word for you, I can't overstate how important that is. Again, if you're looking at someone who has 2,000 resumes, I promise you, if someone gets 2,000 resumes, at least 1,500 of them are qualified, right? So what sets you apart? Being able to say that you align with that organization and what they're doing, but then also being able to have someone, an advocate, a champion, or someone that you've networked or met with that can help you. And this is where that sponsor or mentor comes in, because they are usually having these higher level conversations when you're not in the room. And so if they're not at your organization, you want to reach out. And here's the thing: if you know an organization that you want to work for, there's a career there, you can still reach out to someone there to have a conversation in a leadership level to say those same things. I'm extremely interested in, you gave a talk on this area. I'm extremely interested in this area. Can I take you to coffee? Can I have a 5-minute conversation? You want to get your foot in the door, because you want to get your name on their calendar, because that's all you need. Is if you tell them 5 minutes, usually they'll give you at least 15, right? But you make sure that you leave an indelible impression on them, so that way when the conversation is being had, your name comes up out of their mouth.
I think that's so important. And I think I'm a strong believer that people should actually know that you're looking, not just the people in the company, but like maybe, friends, neighbors, the mailman, whoever. People should actually know that you're in the business of looking at that time, because they may know someone that knows someone. Because I'm trying to get into my next question is, how do you break that barrier of, maybe this is a new company, you're saying that I need to find someone that is like internal, that's in upper leadership. Like, how do I break the barrier to even getting a name or contact information?
It doesn't, well, for one, upper leadership would be ideal, but if it's a new company, it's anyone. It's anyone. You want to, if it's the front desk person, you want to get, because what's most important in most organizations, a lot of people don't get this, is getting your foot in the door. Once you get into an organization, it's easier to move up.
Okay.
But don't try to get to an organization at the top, because those top positions, if you're not the top candidate, then there's a strong chance that you won't necessarily get that role. But if you get in the organization and they see that you do good work and they trust you and believe in you, they're a lot more likely to hire you and promote you to that higher role. And so when I say that, again, there are all these search functions that are out there that are available for you to reach out to people, reach out to strangers, or again, I'm a big believer in, it happens to me all the time on LinkedIn, where people reach out to me, because I have a larger LinkedIn following, and people say, hey, Marco, I see that you're connected to this person, right? Mm-hmm. Can you do an introduction for me, right? So sometimes this is a person that I barely know or I don't know. Let's just be realistic, right? But I just really believe in helping our people. And on the other end, sometimes this person is at an organization. We might be connected on LinkedIn and I don't know them personally, but I have their contact information. And so with that, even me as someone who, people are able to leverage me. And so you are able to leverage other folks out there just to get your foot in the door. But again, you have to be ready. You cannot half do this, right? When the conversation comes, you have to be able to speak. If they ask you a question, as soon as they get done talking, you have to be able to talk. We're not doing no we're not doing no, I can't, no. You have to be done your research on them, and then you have to know yourself, because they're gonna ask you some questions about, what are your strengths? You need to know your strengths. What are your weaknesses? You need to know your weaknesses, right? And so you have to prepare and do some research on yourself. So that way, whatever question they hit you with, you're prepared.
Okay. I think you kind of covered the second part of that question, which was what are the top 6 skills the candidate should have. But then also another part of that question is what are the common or recurring expectations of the companies? And what I heard you say was just kind of knowing who the company is, knowing what they do, and knowing who you are and what you provide and how you can contribute. And did you have anything else to add to that?
I would just remind folks that even if you can't find, someone like a manager higher level, look to the CEO. The CEO sets direction. The CEO almost always has some talk out there that they've given, right? And everybody is jockeying or vying for the CEO. Everybody wants to be or do what the CEO does. So if you check out something that they've said, that they've written, or that they've done, or when they've been interviewed, and you know that and can speak to those and speak to them on how they resonate to you. I mean, it's not about just going into the room and saying, hey, Jeff Lawson said blah, 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 and I think that's cool. No, it's like, the reason I want to work for this organization is because when I heard the CEO give this talk on this area, I said, you know what? That's the type of organization I want to work for because those are my values. Those are my beliefs. And that's why I'm here. I could be anywhere, but I'm here and I'm reaching out to you because I can tell that this is an area that I'll thrive because this is my passion.
Okay. What do you think is the most effective way to network so that it best benefits someone's career? Now, I know that mine was probably, a little bit off the cuff, connected with you on social media, didn't know you engaged just on GP, but a lot of people may not like that. So what would you say is the best way to network, or do you feel like that was effective?
So for me, and I can't, emphasize this enough, I believe that networking is one of the most important parts of career and professional advancement there is, period. What I've learned from working in the corporate sector, in education, and with tech giants and millionaires and VCs, that when they say it's not what you know is who you know, that has meaning, that has value. And so I say personally, network as much as possible. If you have the time, and let's say you're at a low end job or a dead end job or you're unemployed, you should be at a networking event at least 2 to 3 times a week. You can go on any site, right? Eventbrite. There's a ton of them. Meetup, and they're networking events for everything. If you want to go into product management, there's a networking event for that. If you want to go into tech, there's a networking event for that. If you want to go into sales, there's a networking event for that. And you need to be out there meeting people. Now, so the first thing I'll say is go, right? And then there are also online groups that you can tap into. I get it. Some people are more introverted. They don't want to go out, or they don't have the means, right? You can't drive everywhere. BART those charges get up, so I get it. But they're online, the same thing, where you can get into these forums and talk to people and get to know them and find out, the industry standards, the industry lingo, and connect with people there as well. But first you need to go. So when I say go, that's online or in person, right? But when you go and you meet someone, one of the most beneficial things for me has always been to flip the script. And I'll say it like this. A lot of people network is because they're going out to meet people to find out, how can this person help their career? When I network, the first thing I lead with is, how can I help you be successful? What are you working on this quarter that I might be able to help with? Is there anything that you have going on that, that I can add value, right? I'm not asking for anything in return. I'm leading off with, I'm putting myself out there. I want to do something for you because we all have needs. If you're working, there's something that you need to do. Oh, you need more customers? What's your product? Let me see. Oh, you need more FTE? You trying to hire people? Okay, let me see. Oh, you're new to the area. You don't know anybody here in the Bay Area. Okay, let me connect you with some people. I do this all the time. I literally do this all the time. If you lead with that, a couple things happen. One, you set yourself apart from everybody else that's begging, right? Because they go to these networking events, people give them their card. Oh, here's my card. People don't know what to do with them cards. People got stacks of cards this thick and don't ever do nothing with them, right?
Right.
And so it sets you apart from everyone else. Secondly, now they see you as someone that they can go to get things done, right? Because for me, if I do make that offer to you, I'm going to do everything I can. If you come back to me and say, yeah, I do need X, Y, and Z, I'm going to do my best to make it happen. And I just, right? Because you have no idea who this person is now, who they're going to be, right? And so you want to make sure that you make that connection. And that way, when their mind comes to getting things done, it's you. And so now, one day, when you're looking for a role, right? And because you've networked with this person, because you've done something for them, you're able to talk to them. And like you said, let them know that you're looking, right? And now they know your story. They know a little bit about you, and they know that you can get things done, and they know that you're willing to put yourself out there. Now, one day they're in a room in their office, or talking to some friends, and someone says, "Hey, man, I know somebody. I'm looking for somebody to do X, Y, and Z," and your name is gonna come up. They're gonna remember you and say, "Oh, you know what? I do know a guy." Right? Because here's the most important part. One of the most important part of network is that can really be productive is that you want your name spoken in rooms that you'll never enter.
Okay.
And you can do that through networking. There are times when you won't even be in the same state as some of these people, but your name will come up, and that will be an opportunity for you that you could necessarily actualize yourself, because you can't do it all. But the more you start to talk to people, the more you get your name and your brand out there, the more these things will come to you.
I totally agree with that. And that's really good advice for people that are even looking to get in, even more so people like that's already in their company. If you're doing like a large project or doing something that was so profound that people get them to talk about and get them to announce your name over, different manager meetings, I feel like that's so important because like that's of value. The next question I wanted to ask is, can you give an example or actually, I think you already covered this, but I don't know if you want to add anything. I'm currently looking for career opportunities. What are the 3 main things I should do to begin? And I think you've already kind of said that, which was networking, knowing the company, knowing who you are, knowing how you can contribute. So I think that's okay. But the next question is, can you give an example of how you manage your time in order to be successful in what you do?
Yep. For me, and it varies, person by person, right? Some people need routine, right? And you just have a routine where, every day I'm up at 6, I'm at the gym by 7, I'm reading by 8, I'm at work by 9, blah, blah, blah. So I want to start off by saying that you have to find what works for you. What works for me is a calendar, right? I have an online calendar. It will let me know, it will buzz on my phone whenever it's time to do something. It comes up on my computer, every device. On my Amazon Alexa, right? Every device is going to let me know it's time to do X, Y, and Z, and that's extremely helpful for me because I need that direction, right? Because I can get a free flowing conversation, and it might go too long, or I might do this, and I really enjoy doing this, but I should only be doing this for so long. And so for me, it's divvying up the time, right? Because if you want to find out, especially if a person uses a calendar, if you want to find out what they value, just see what they spend most of their time on. And so if you say, this thing is really important, but you spend, less than an hour on it every day, maybe it's not important as you think it is in your head. And so making sure that you allocate the time to the things that you prioritize and sticking to that calendar is extremely beneficial. And for me, it will give you a roadmap to get to the next level that you want to get to.
Okay. Can you tell me about a time in your career where you felt like you needed to improve a skill set in order to overcome a challenge?
Yes. There was a time in my career, I became the chair of a committee, and this was at UC Berkeley. And what I needed to, being in that role, I was going to have a lot of public speaking opportunities, right? And I used to do church announcements, so I was pretty all right with it, but I wanted to be better because I saw a lot of people who got it wrong. And so for me, one of the most underrated, I don't know why, I mean, I think it's underrated now, is everything that you need to know, everything that you need to learn is in a book somewhere. I promise you it's in a book somewhere. I mean, I have a nice library of books that I utilize, and I've always been someone who reads because whatever you're going through, somebody else has already went through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for some blessed reason, they like to give you that information on how to do it. And so for me, that has always been my go-to, right? And so in that scenario, um, what I would do is, I would read books, on public speaking. Some of the things that I pull from that is to always practice whatever you're going to say. If you're going to go give a talk, you should have said that talk at least 20 times before you actually give it. Modern technology, and this is, even, before we had the phones that you can record on, which is great, but you can just get anything to record yourself because you want to hear you, right? And hear how you sound. So that way you can see, what words you're slipping up on, what areas are you saying, what's your inflection, what's your tone, so on and so forth. And so that's been extremely helpful. But again, to go back to the original question, read a book. And if that might be too difficult, ask someone who you think is successful. And whatever that success looks like to you, whatever area, you would be surprised. I mean, there's probably some people in your family and they've been working on a job 30 years and, you think of them in this box, but you have no idea all the other things that they have done throughout their career to help them get to where they are. And just asking them. And if they don't know, they will probably know somebody who does and they'll make that connection.
Okay. What is your take on like certifications? So I know that some people kind of like do that kind of like an add-on to maybe a high school diploma they have, or maybe even a degree. But what is your take on certifications, and do you feel like they're important, effective, or useful? What is your take on
They
that?
are. I mean, and again, it really depends on your focus area and the career that you want to get in. But certifications are extremely important because what they do is they help you. They help show folks that, and when I say folks, I mean employers or people that can connect you with employment, that you took the time to learn this skill. You felt the skill was extremely important, so you took the time to learn this skill, and then you did enough for this in this area to receive the certification. Now,
Okay.
they vary though, right? Because what happens is there's some certifications that I can go to in a 1-hour training online and I get certified at this. There's other certifications where it's a lot more in depth, right? I just took a project management class, right? It was accelerated version, so it was 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, with a test at the end, right? But that's the organization that gives it is a reputable organization, and so it's a very useful certification. So I'm definitely for certifications, especially, but well, let me say it like this: if you don't necessarily have those areas where you got a degree in, right? But you want to exemplify that you know the work, the certification helps. Now, if you have a degree in it, you can still get a certification in it. That's still helpful. But especially for those who are pivoting their careers, right? Let's say you worked in this area all your life, and now you want to do something different. The certification is extremely helpful. But yeah, I'm definitely for it. But research the organization to make sure that, because unfortunately we've seen, I think with a lot of these schools that are just shutting down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you still owe the money and you don't have a degree, and so research the organization. I'm all for when I say research, people think encyclopedias, all that. Look up the organization,
Okay.
and find out what it is that they do, and if they're accredited. I think that's the biggest part for certifications, accreditation.
Okay. So, as we're closing out, would you like to share any resources? I know that you mentioned that you have a large library. Would you like to share any of your favorite authors, books, or any other kind of maybe certification schools that you know of that are reputable for people to look at?
So it all depends on what areas that you're interested in. For me, one of the things that I found the most important in my life is outside sales. And I'm not in sales. I did sales for a brief stint in my life, but any book that you can read on sales is going to benefit you. And the reason I say that is, and if you want to author, Zig Ziglar, Grant Cardone, are a couple. But here's the reason: everything that we do is sales, and whether you realize it or not, right? If you want a job, with that interview is you selling yourself to the employer, right? If you're out, every organization, Google is selling ad space, right? Everything, the underlying, if you like someone for an interpersonal relationship, when you're dating, you're in sales. You're trying to sell yourself to that person. In every aspect of life, right? Sales could benefit you because what it's going to do is going to teach you how to take a message, hone it, and get it out there to someone else so that way they can receive it and act on it. And there's no way that this can't benefit you. So you want a raise, you're selling yourself on getting this raise, right? You want a different position. You're selling yourself on, you're selling them on why you deserve this new position. Everything I can't, this is one main point that if you forget a whole bunch of other stuff, remember this. If you learn some sales techniques, a lot of times what will happen is some areas that you might not be as well versed in, you'll be able to make up for it because you'll be able to take the information that you have, the information that's within you, and package it in such a way. And again, this is really just sales, but package it in such a way that the person that you're going to give this information to is going to be enthralled. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, again, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. Sometimes it's not what you say, but it's how you say it.
How you say it, art of persuasion, right?
Exactly. And so being able to have those conversations and let folks know, this is who I am. This is what I can bring to your organization. This is why you need me and why we can work together. That's sales, but that's career advancement. That's professional development. That's everything. And so I think that's one point that I would want to leave with everyone.
Okay, that's really, really good. I love that. Okay, well, is there anything else that you would like to add to this, or like what you want to say to the community or whoever's going to be watching this video? Maybe some words of guidance or encouragement for future candidates.
So I'll give you this. I have three life mottos, and these are extremely important to me, and I live by them. The first one is live your life as if you were 80 years old. You got to come back today and do it all over again. And so, if you're in your 30s, you're in your 20s, you could think back and say, man, if I go back to high school, I would do this different. If I can go back to my first job, I would do this different. If I had to go back to the day I met him or her, I would do this different, right? Imagine you at 80 years old, whatever age you're in, I'll just say this, double your age, whatever your age is, double. Imagine that person, that version of you looking back on you right now. What do you think that you will want you to do today? Let that be your North Star. Let that guide you, because it's using foresight. It's using foresight to have some hindsight. And so one day we're going to be old and wrinkled, and we won't be able to run as far as we run. We won't be able to talk the way we talk. We won't have the opportunities that we have now. What will that person wish that you had done now? Mm-hmm. Do those things first. That's the first one. The second one, if you help as many other people become successful, then you can't help but be successful yourself. If you help other people become successful, I guarantee you'll be successful. Not only because if you help other people be successful, then you'll have this plethora of friends who are successful, but then also you will have the ability and the opportunity to reach out to all these people that are in your network. So it's not always about you. If you make it about other people and help them succeed, then we'll all have a groundswelling and rise up together. I guess the last thing that I personally live by, and this is probably more for my Black people, is that we are someone's ancestor. What are we doing right now to help benefit the people that will have our blood going through their veins that we'll never meet. So 100 years from now, there's going to be some kid that I probably will never meet that's going to be born and living out through this world. What am I doing now to make sure that he has a better life? Those are the things that I need to be doing. Because if whatever situation that you find yourself in, if it's a situation of lack, there's someone, I personally believe that there's someone in my bloodline years ago that could have done more, right? We could have had more land. We could have done something, right? We could have done something different. And so, but they didn't. And I'm here where I am today trying to figure it out. So my idea and my thought process is, what am I going to do now to make sure that the future generations don't go through what I had to go through? Maybe that's, maybe that's life skills. Maybe it's a family crest. Maybe it's a family motto. Maybe it's a business that we pass down. Whatever it is, you have to figure that out for yourself. But for us as a culture to rise, we all have to rise. And so we have to get out of thinking about our own self, our own aptitudes and our own resources and what we're going to do for ourselves, and think about those that are coming after us. And I think when you do that, we will build a more sustainable world, and we'll make decisions that are more legacy decisions than decisions.
Wow, that's amazing. I have one last question.
Shoot.
When are you releasing your book?
What was that?
When are you releasing your book? That needs to be bottled and put in a book. I'm so serious, and just given to everyone. That was I feel really, really good about this information. I feel really good about things that you said. And I just thank you so much for your willingness. And I think you should seriously consider writing a book.
I have been considering it. So thank you.
You have something to say.
Yes. Right. Okay.
I really appreciate it. So how can we get in contact with you, or like, what's your handle, any of that you want to add or not?
Yep. So LinkedIn, Marco T. Lindsey. I mean, I think that's the best, especially if you want to, career advice, professional help, Marco T. Lindsey. I'm also Marco T. Lindsey on Facebook. My Twitter is MT_Lindsey, and email address, mlindsey@100blackmenba.org. I think those.
And who should be contacting you? What kind of?
I think people who are motivated should be contacting me. People who have an idea of what they want in life, right? And people who either are in a profession that they want to move up in, or or someone who wants to get into something. And particularly, I would say in the tech field. And again, just a reminder: tech does not mean that you code. But what's happening, and one of the reasons why I do what I do is because I don't believe gentrification can be fought through ordinances. I think that if you have a landlord who says, I own this land, and they have this person who's coming from, let's just say some overrepresented state, Boston, and they're white, let's just talk about it, and they want to pay $5,000 for rent at a unit, and I live there and I'm paying, $800, they're going to take the $5,000 every time. We live in a capitalistic society, and that's what gentrification is about. But what we can do, and what I believe in doing, is if the tech boom, the tech industry is going to be here in California, it's going to be here in the Bay Area, then let's help my people who are here get those same jobs and make that money. Because as a native, I know that my people are qualified. I know that we can do the job. I know this. I grew up around too many over-educated, qualified folks. But what's happening is they're not given the opportunity. They don't have access to the jobs. They don't have access to the recruiters. And many times they might not even know about the company or the recruiter or the organization. And so for me, that's my passion, right? And so if you're somebody in that sphere, right, where, you might be in a career that's great, right? You might be in a job that's great. But what I'll tell you is what I know is that if you do a job at a brick and mortar company, and when I mean brick and mortar, I mean non-tech, you take that same job, the same job that you do, nothing changed about it, take it to a tech company, they double or triple your salary. Same job, different company, your salary doubles or triples. And for me, that's how we fight gentrification. That's how we get more of our people staying here in the area, so that way we don't have to move out. And so if you fall in that category, reach out to me. I'm the plug. I'm your man.
Okay. I so appreciate this. Thank you so much.
No
I appreciate
problem. Thank you for reaching out. I appreciate it.
Okay. If you have anything else to say, you can always, let me know and I can add it to this because I'm going to edit this and I'm going to post. I'll send it to you before I send it out or everything.
Okay.
But thank you again. I won't hold you. We're just
All
at
right.
an hour. Okay. Have a
Yes,
good day.
indeed. All right, you too. Thank you. Be safe.
Bye.